Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome all to Smart Trucking Live. Glad you could join us today. Million Milers here in sunny North Carolina. I'm envious already. It's snowing like a bugger right here. Sean's here. Hey, Sean. Yeah, we're good. Thank you for asking. Thomas is calling or writing in or watching from Florida. So I'm pretty jealous about that. Muppet, as we all know, is in Australia, and one of these days. Hello, everyone. Hello, Muppet. Controlled chaos. Back to work and feeling better. Well, I'm glad to see that. You've been in our thoughts, so I'm glad you're feeling better. Trucker Hershey is here. Container Guru. Hey, Dave, I got an odd combo 22.5 tires with Dayton hubs. That is an old girl, man. I can't remember the last time I saw Dayton hubs. And you know what? They worked just fine. They were a little hard on the tires, but Container Guru, I don't imagine you're paying for the tires there, so it's all good, but that's an old setup, but a tried and a true setup anyway. Easy to swap out. And he says he's just trying to stay dry, Container Guru. And like I say, it's snowing like a bugger up here. Tim Field, man, how are you doing? Glad to hear from you. Controlled Chaos. Bonehead Truckers called Canadians snow Mexicans today in the last video he posted. Well, I'm going to have to watch that, and I will get back to you on my review of that video. I don't watch a whole lot of Bonehead Truckers because I've seen more Swift trucks crash than you can ever imagine, but I'll have to watch that one and see what he has to say. James Cheeks, hey, man. How are you doing? Knoxville, Tennessee. And I was just talking to Kathy, and I think it was Knoxville. We used to go down to Florida every year in the car, and there was this awesome mall that we used to stop at right off the interstate, and I'm pretty sure it was in Knoxville. You probably know where I'm talking about, but and he says, sensor on back order, 3-month wait. God, welcome to the brave new world there. SoCal Sandman's here. Grilled Mortal is here. Bronx Wars is here. Glad you guys could all join us today. Kelly Patterson's here. Brandon's here. Marcus King's here. Before we get into it today, just there's a Q&A, but there's a few things I wanted to cover. I doing my reading and my research this week, and I noticed that one of the things that carriers are doing, which I found really interesting, was that they've all raised the speed limiters on the company trucks. So before they just couldn't afford to do it, and it was a safety issue, and it was an insurance issue, and it was a fuel consumption issue, and it was just every excuse under the book. But now suddenly they're using that to attract drivers. Oh, we bumped it up from 65 to 68. Couldn't do it all this time. Suddenly we can do it again. So I got a kick out of that. Something else I got a kick out of was how clever the DOT in Ohio were, because they went to their boss and said, hey, man, we've decided we're going to do a safety blitz on I-94 this week in Ohio. And the safety boss has gone, oh, yeah, okay, that's good, head on out there. So they disappeared all week, and they've all gone home with pay because I-94 doesn't run through Ohio. But somebody somewhere hasn't caught that, so I'm sure those guys are all sitting around the pool or the lake or something, kicking back and enjoying a week off with pay. So I thought that was pretty clever. Those guys in Ohio, the DOT guys in Ohio, good move, good catch.
Daniel Meredith, thank you very much for the $2, my friend. Advice to new drivers: stay off of your cell phone.
Really, really good advice, and thank you for the donation. But yeah, excellent advice. And speaking of advice, let me get this in there. A longtime friend of mine and a guy that's in a couple of my stories that I've told has contacted me the last few weeks or so with health issues. My thoughts and prayers have been with him. But his suggestion to everybody out there, and truck drivers are tough guys. We tend to ignore things we should be doing, like getting medical checkups every once in a while. And he just got one after COVID, and the doctors haven't been available. And the end story is his results weren't great, and he advises everyone to get your blood checked regularly. And especially include a PSA blood test. So I wanted to get that in there. He says he's going to be fine. He started radiation last week, but still, maybe truck drivers, we should take a little better care of ourselves sometimes. So I wanted to squeeze that in there because he's a good friend of mine, and I don't want anyone else to have to go through radiation like what he's doing this week. So anyhow, so it's a Q&A. It's a Q&A, but Grilled Mortal. Volvo Christmas card says check engine, ECU, and communication error. It's starting already. Tim Fields in Colorado. Man, I just recently I've read that virtually all the big truck plants are shut down now, waiting for parts. I think last live stream I mentioned that Peterbilt and Denton was virtually shut down. Well, I guess it's pretty much all of them right now, and they're forecasting the next truck production into 14 months away. Lee Harvey, hey man, glad you could join us. I always felt discriminated against for being so darn good looking. Lee Harvey. Lee, I never had that problem, but I'm glad somebody out there does, so it's not a bad problem to have. So congratulations. Congratulations. I wish I'd had that issue, but no. Marcus King, greetings from Amsterdam. Greetings, sir. How are things over there? How are different parts of Europe are going through like rioting and protests and stuff. I've been trying to follow all of that, but it's very unsettled over there right now. I hope everything's good where you are. Bronx War says, I'm studying for my CDL. Your info is great. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I appreciate you watching. We do our best here. We try to help. Captain Nice Guy's here. Hey, man. Well, it's not good news. Had to turn in my keys on Monday. Had some health issues that finally caught up to me. Oh, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hear that. I hope it's something that's, not permanent. That's something that they can correct or you can correct or something. But I am sorry to hear that, sir. It's, like I was just saying a few minutes ago, trucking is tough on your body. And it used to pay us compensation for that in the form of higher wages. And that doesn't happen anymore. And because truck drivers, they don't live very long and they have health issues. And that's something that the trucking industry needs to get back into, is paying for everything, paying for it better. Michael Wolf, hello from Nevada. That's a great state. Love going through Nevada. I preferred going across 80 as compared to going across 15 just because I like the wide open spaces and the view, and I didn't like going through Vegas just because of the traffic half the time. But Lettuce King in the house. Lettuce King, I'm glad you could join us. You'll have to let me know the results of your search if nothing else. I'm still laughing about our phone conversation. Brandon, blood pressure going up, broken down in Rosemont, Minnesota. God, I used to hate breaking down. Happily, it didn't happen to me very often. Every once in a blue moon, but not too often. But, oh, God, I hated sitting around shops waiting for the truck to be repaired. Sometimes it could be a day or two. I lost a fuel pump one time in Gary, Indiana, of all places. And it was 2 days before Cat got the fuel pump swapped out. And those were the longest 2 days of my life. I just hate that, so I sympathize, sir. I sympathize, Brandon. SoCal says you're doing great. Glad to hear that, sir. And, now when you said you were back to work after the holidays, did you mean after Thanksgiving or after Christmas? Are you working now? Let me know. Chloe's dad, 2020, started school. I go December 15th for my permit test. Good luck with that, sir. I hope you're enjoying the journey that you're going through, because it's something that'll stay with you for life. Kyle Gentile, Lettuce King got any decent-sized C-15 injectors laying around. You know what? Before he answers that, I saw a cat block sitting outside his place the other day when I was by, and he wasn't there. But maybe he may. I don't even know if it was a C-15, but it might not have the right injectors. But he'll be able to tell you anyway. Daniel Ford's here. Hey, Daniel, how are you? What else is going on? Daniel Ford says he's doing good. What else did I want to bounce off this? Have you noticed? I don't know if anybody's keeping up with this port issue. Container Guru might be, and Roger Penske might be, but since Biden implemented the 24-hour work thing nonstop at Long Beach and LA ports, there were 70 boats backed up at that point. Since he issued that mandate, the last count earlier this week was they're up to 96 boats waiting. So that hasn't gone that well. So that's not a good thing. But what do you know? Hey, Josh Bullog's in the house. Hey, Josh, how are you? Dog Talks. I'm trying to decide which carrier to start with. Knight is my most local, but all the recruiters have spoken to the big carriers are dodging the questions you made the video about. Yeah, I'm not surprised, Dog Talks. You know what? You might want to try going past the recruiters and tell them you want to talk to somebody that knows something, because this isn't cutting it for you. See if they'll plug you upstairs to someone that knows anything.
Even the middle management.
Yeah, even middle management. Ryan Voss, the company I'm leased to is now starting to take new drivers fresh out of school. Used to have a year's experience. It's the way things are going, Ryan. Drivers are in big demand, and they're having trouble finding good guys. And, it was always the insurance companies half the time that were setting the rules. So you wonder how they're getting around the insurance companies now. But you know what? There's some guys that come right out of school that are really good. So, and you don't know until you put them to work how they're going to be. Jeff Vance, how long do you see truck prices? And that was gone. Being up? You know what? Honestly, I don't see them coming back down. It's a sad state of affairs, but it's so hard to claw the price back once you've jacked it up. I don't think this supply chain shortage is going away anytime soon. And it's all these chips and sensors and sending units that they can't get. I don't know if I see the price going back down again. It might be because we're to the point now where, and this is a great question, by the way, that really the only people buying the trucks right now are the big fleets, the mega fleets. And the single guys don't buy trucks anymore, it seems. It seems like they want to do this lease deal now. And with a lease deal, they just, you pick red or blue or green or whatever you want. But so the Freightliner may be able to control their costing a little bit because of the mass volume that they sell. But the other manufacturers, and maybe Volvo, but I can't see like PACCAR, for instance, backing up their prices anytime soon, if ever. Just my prediction. Dave is the lettuce king, a heavy hauler. He is right now. That is what he is doing right now. I was talking to him today on the phone. He was grumbling about the gravel pit. So I'm not sure he enjoys it every day, but he's making huge money doing it. So you can see where he's coming from. Ryan Voss, insurance companies require 101-ish, 10-ish trainer drivers, front-facing cameras installed in those trucks. Front-facing cameras. So out the windshield, rather than watching the driver. Huh. There are a lot of guys protesting about these driver-facing cameras, and I think that's a good thing. The insurance companies can want whatever they want, but if the companies can't hire drivers, it's no good. Here's Kyle. Plus side is used trucks are also going up in value, way up in value. Sellers market, not buyers. Yeah, Yeah, and you know what? For years we've had a glut of used trucks on the market. What's that great big guy, that outfit that sells the Volvos? But and you drive by any of their lots, they've got like hundreds of the things. Same with the Freightliners, hundreds and hundreds sitting in the field. Hey, Fred Besmer, glad you could join us. Dave, can you discuss the confusion with the ArriveCan app for essential workers as of November 30th? We were supposed to register with the app and cross back into Canada, but when you ask a customs officer, it's Fred, I can't explain it because they don't even understand it yet. And this has been the matter of course for all of Canada with this whole deal going on, that the left hand has not known what the right hand is doing, and it's screwing up everything. And the question you're posing is just part of a much bigger problem that someone in Ottawa has dictated and no one has the answer to. And it's pathetic and ridiculous. They shouldn't implement this stuff if they don't have the answer. Yeah, I know. And the customs officers, they'll be the last to know. You just know that, but it's and you'll even run into the day shift might have an answer, and the afternoon shift won't. It's just so I don't have an answer there, Fred, and I'm sorry, but they don't even have an answer either. So it's pathetic. It just makes me shake my head. And Dog Talks, by the way, Knight is not a bad carrier. It's they own Swift now, but if you can get with the Knight side, my understanding is that they're still pretty good. They are always pretty good. So I wouldn't be afraid of starting with Knight. Where else are we here? Hello, drivers. Lots of loads in LA ports if you're interested. That's from Clarence. I believe that. SoCal says I would never have a driver-facing camera ever. And SoCal, when those things came out, I had to ponder that. My immediate reaction was the same as yours. I wouldn't have it at all. And then I thought, well, maybe if I was doing like day cab work around the city or something like that, it wouldn't be too bad because then, there's no bunk or anything. I'm not sleeping in the damn thing. I don't think I'd like it, but I could probably put up with it. But with anything with a bunk, no, I wouldn't. I think it's an invasion of privacy. Here's SoCal talking about the snow Mexicans. Oh, I'm gonna have to tune into this video because I'll have something to say about that. Ice Hollywood, hello, sir. Glad you could join us. What else is going on in trucking that I wanted to mention to you guys here? What the hell is that called? Oh, I know what it is. Have you heard about this Operation Open Road that some of the Republican governors, 15 Republican governors, have formed an association, and they've called it Operation Open Road, and basically what they're doing is they're not satisfied with how the Biden administration is handling the trucking industry, and they're allowed to go around the FMCSA for a period of 30 days to try different things that they think will work better in their state. So I didn't know they could do that. Ohio, for instance, the governor there has raised the gross weight limit to 90,000 pounds gross. And there's a lot of guys hauling steel through Ohio. So that'll certainly benefit them. South Carolina has waived the need for any sort of a permits over length, over width, anything like that. They've gotten rid of the permits altogether. And Missouri has instructed its DOT not to interfere with trucks that are involved in the supply chain movement of any type of goods involved with the supply chain. So I thought that's a common sense rule. But it's interesting that these governors are so fed up that they're coming up with workaround solutions to the individual problems in their states. So I think that's a good thing.
Bronx Wars, thank you very much for the membership, my friend. I hope you enjoy the benefits of being part of our team now.
Thank you, Bronx Wars. Appreciate that. Ice Hollywood, I'm fixing to get my CDL permit test as well. Good man. You know, I enjoyed trucking. It's you can put in a lot of hours every day and still look forward to it the next day going back if you've got the right job and you're with the right carrier, which is something that's very important. So I hope the best for you. I think you'll enjoy it. Just get with the right carrier. That's half the battle. Million Miler says he likes the picture from your community post there, Kathy. Sure.
It's Michael Mueller's 389, black 389 truck.
Is it? Oh, so it's Michael Mueller's 389 truck that in the picture, and he's with Smith. Yeah. Smith has got a sharp looking fleet. They do.
Daniel coming in with another donation of $5. Thank you very much for that. Mega carriers need to pay their drivers a lot better and give their drivers some well-deserved respect. The pay sucks, and again, the respect isn't there for the danger that they deal with from day to day. Thank you very much for the $5, Daniel.
Yeah, Daniel, thank you. And never truer words were said. And it's interesting now because a lot of these bigger carriers, not Swift so much, but some of these big carriers raised their pay significantly and then still failed to attract anywhere near the number of drivers that they were hoping for. And guys are boiling it down to the fact that, well, yeah, it's nice to have the raise, but it's the treatment that's important to us as well. And if you don't respect your drivers, if you don't treat your drivers well, the pay raise alone just isn't cutting it. So this whole trucking industry is coming to the slow realization that A, it's got to pay better, but B, you've got to treat your people better as well. It's all part and parcel. I'm amazed that they're so slow at picking this stuff up, but yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Dave, what's the best wheelbase for the Peterbilt 389? Good question, Josh. And I found I got along really well with a 280 wheelbase. I had friends that ran 300 wheelbases, and, I could get in and out of spots a lot more easily than they could. It was a nice look to the 300, but I found I was a little more versatile at 280. So I like a 280 wheelbase, 280, 285. Million Miler, I like the picture. Oh, I read that one already. Yeah, that's Michael Mueller's truck. It is a sharp-looking truck. Pete 389s are good-looking trucks. Now I'm hearing just here this week that Kenworth now is talking about getting rid of the 900 and leaving the 990. But if that's the case, that's not the first time that Kenworth, in my estimation, in my opinion, has made a design error. And I was unhappy back in 1982 when they dropped the W900A in favor of the W900B. I sent them a letter. I was so annoyed. And I was buying Peterbilts after that ever since. So if they get rid of that 900L in favor of the 990, I think that's a huge mistake. But they don't listen to me. I'm sure they know a whole lot more about what they need than I do. Lettuce King likes the 325 wheelbase. Just right for the new guy, Lettuce King. A 325 with a long hood. No sympathy. No sympathy. Trucker Gal, how much seat time should we gather before expecting a decent pay? 1,000, 1,500 weekly as a company driver. What's decent pay these days? I'm still very new. We generally, lately, the industry has been talking in terms of gross, and I think gross needs to be above the $70,000 a year mark anyway. There's all sorts of carriers that are, for new drivers, are in the 80s or even in the 90s. So have a look at calculate out what you think your gross pay is going to be and go from there. And there's all sorts of really good carriers now paying really well. But, even for seat time is your question, I would say a year. If you're with a carrier a year and you're not starting to see the big money, I think I'd be going in to talk to them. Because they don't want to lose you, Trucker Gal. We know that for a fact. No one can find good drivers, so you can pretty much write your own checks these days. That's a nice position to be in for a change.
I have to hold on to my shifter stick to read this one. Adam Bennett coming in with the 50 bomb. It's a real shifter stick, by the way. What's up?
Oh my God!
Come on!
Oh my! That's why we don't put the camera on him.
I gotta get through this. Holy God! What's up in Hazleton, PA? It's snowing. I say one thing one time. Can't wait to get back to
California.
California, okay. Whereabouts is that?
California.
Yeah, okay. What does that last word say, Dave? I can't quite.
Come
read
on.
that.
Come
That's
on.
of course, that's the best you have. Anyways, Adam, thank you very much for the $50 donation.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And yeah, we've got it's snowing like a bugger here too. So, but we're not that far away from PA. So, but yeah, we got crap weather. But appreciate the donation, Adam. Thank you, sir. Maybe dreaming. I'm looking to buy a cab over K100 or Freightliner, preferably, and a dry van trailer. We'll start off on the load board, but we'll work for direct customers, hoping I can get and keep the love of trucking going. Yeah, you're always better with direct customers. I don't trust load brokers at all. Love the choice of truck. Dry boxes they're giving them away these days. They're cheap. So, good way to go, man. Good way to go. But it won't take long for you to grab a couple of direct customers and then just service the hell out of them, and you'll be off to the races. And cab over. What a nice way to go. Wait a second. Rose Jackson. Where'd she go? She passed her CDL. I thought I just saw that flash by. Rose, I've lost it, but congratulations if that was the message. But yeah, congratulations. Fred Besmer, pay should be $2,000 a week for company driver if you're with a reputable company. And Fred ought to know, and Fred is. So there's an idea right there from Fred for a weekly paycheck. I was talking gross over the year, but Fred's giving you an idea for a weekly paycheck over $2,000. So, yeah, that's a good number. Thanks, Fred. Appreciate the input there. Thank you. Mark on Trucking Answers pointed this out. In the 70s, a driver made $100K a year. Today, the equivalent is about $350. No, I wasn't. I don't want to. I was a driver in the 70s, and I made the equivalent of what today is over $100,000. So I think that's what Mark was saying. If you work out the cost of living from the 70s till now, that's what it boiled down to. So if I was making the same money today as I had been making in the 70s, I'd be getting paid over $100,000 as a company driver. And he's right about that. The pay has not even come close to keeping up with the cost of living. But that's what he's meant by that. Brandon says, got to go. Helps find a year. Much love, trucking family. He's broken down on the side of the road, so his service truck has showed up. So that's glad to see you're on the road to getting going on the road anyway, Brandon. Good, man. Good. Appreciate you joining us. Rose Jackson says over $100K a year. That's a lot. But Rose, remember that the truck drivers are working like 70 hours plus every week. So when you take in the time they put in and the expense of living on the road, it's not as big as, what you first think. Grilled Mortal. K100 is a good way close up and personal with a swamp donkey, which is Canadian for moose. But hey, Grilled Mortal, there is a cab over Kenworth, like a block from where I park my truck, and the guy's gonna restore it. I don't even know what year it is. It's got Dayton wheels on it and everything. It's an old girl, but she's a beaut. You got to swing by, man. We'll go over there. I'll show it to you. What else? Tim Field, I'm just below $1,000 a week. Taxes take out so much. Sure as hell isn't going to the roads here in Colorado. Taxes really hurt. I know that it's tough to calculate how much you really make until you take the taxes out of the whole picture. That's truly what you're making after taxes. That's the number that counts, is the net, not the gross. It's not going, and Tim, it's not going to the roads anywhere. It's not just Colorado. The other truckers coach, love that name. Dave, did you ever run under your own authority, or were you leased to a carrier? I had been leased for a number of years, but I ended up getting my own authority, and I ran under my own authority from about 1994 on till when I retired here a few years ago. So yeah, I ran a lot of my own authority stuff, and that was the trucking I enjoyed the most. SoCal says, we just got a 15-cent per mile rate increase. Multiply that by 3,770 miles. I run dedicated, so that's $565.50 more a week. Jesus, that's pretty good money. But SoCal works for like a really good carrier, so that's God. That's what I'm telling you guys. You got to work for the good carriers, and he does. But that's a pretty nice raise. So I forget the groundhog's name, but most of that will go into feeding the groundhog. Frank? Are you sure it's Frank?
I don't know, try it.
I don't think it's Frank.
Frank.
Okay. Anyway, no. Oh, never mind. Anyway, SoCal, don't blow it all on the groundhog. That's a pretty significant raise. That's nice.
Larry.
Tim Field, stop, Kathy. Tim Field, Wyoming's roads are great, and no state tax. Colorado is just putting that money into their own pockets, which, Tim, and that's amazing to me because Colorado has some of the most treacherous roads in the country, and you'd think they'd put more into them, but yeah, and Wyoming, great roads in Wyoming, so go figure.
The groundhog will get a new sweater.
Is that what he said? The groundhog will get
Brian Boss,
it. The Brian Boss. Hey, Shannon's here. Hey, Shannon, how you doing? I'll ask a dumb question. Why aren't our fellow drivers listening to the high wind warnings and closures for high-profile vehicles? I don't want to read your bitch. Shannon, they used to post that stuff on a sign by or across or over the interstate. Do they not still do that anymore? Like, would it not be impossible to pull out a Laramie heading west not see a sign? Like, I'm starting to wonder that too. But they used to post that stuff. Did they quit that? Daniel Meredith, YRC Yellow in Hagerstown, Maryland. We're so backed up we got enough trailers with freight coming in, but not enough trailers to go out. We have third parties to help us out, like Crete. I don't understand. Interesting question, Daniel. I'm sure that Yellow budgets for a certain amount of drivers and trucks and freight movement for the year, and I all of a sudden my guess would be that all of a sudden Yellow's gotten so swamped with freight that they hadn't planned in advance for that kind of manpower or equipment. So, but man, that's a good position for Yellow to be in. That's super. That's not happening everywhere. So love it while you can, and at least they, if they got Crete pulling it, they got a good carrier helping you out. So, controlled chaos. I love Wyoming. I live in Cheyenne, and the roads are closed now because of the winds are 60 miles an hour plus here again. That's controlled chaos. Geez, I used to Clyde Green, controlled chaos. Do you know a guy named Clyde Green? Lives in Cheyenne, runs a beautiful 900A model. Love his truck, but anyway, good guy. I've only ever talked to him on the radio, never met him in person, but every time he'd go by, I just would go off the road looking at his truck, and he's based out of Cheyenne. Rose Jackson, how come it's a lot of the older drivers shy away from the automatics and the younger ones shy away from the manuals? But I learned on a manual truck. Rose, I think it's just a matter of what everybody's used to, I'm hesitant of the automatics, and I didn't find them as good in snow, for instance. I'm just well used to how to deal with all the conditions with a manual transmission. But these guys that came up with the automatics, probably they've learned better on how to handle them in all conditions. Fred, and for the Canadian drivers, when you take out our metric dollars, it's even less. Fred, don't even get me going on this stuff. I'm gonna have to wipe that out of my mind right now to keep going, because I'll just go on. I'll go on for an hour, but about that stuff in the damn government. Where are we? What else did I want to spit out here before I forget?
Well, you have a few moments to think about that while you also think about this question. Akis with the $5 donation. My man, thank you very much for that. Are you at all worried about automated trucks? Here's a doozy of a kicker here. Please don't be vague. Can you substantiate? Would it be all possible if you could dedicate a separate video devoted to said topic?
We've done that.
That's a really good question. I'm extremely worried about autonomous or automated trucks, and my biggest fear is that, even the sensors in my car don't pick up everything. They miss a lot of stuff, or they have false signals and stuff like that. The technology is not ready for autonomous trucks, and while they may work fairly well between Phoenix and Tucson on the dry roads, they're nowhere near equipped to run in bad weather, and trucks need to be able to run in bad weather. Trucks go everywhere, not just between Tucson and Phoenix. I'm extremely worried about it, but I don't think the technology, honestly, if they're honest about it, will be ready for years. And there's something else I wanted to mention too. I was reading the other day that these automated braking systems will be mandatory in trucks produced 2026 and further on after that. So I'm thinking, well, first, now, with the automatic transmissions, they've eliminated the clutch. And now with the automatic braking, they can pretty much eliminate the brake pedal, which only leaves you really one pedal to have to push. So how much more simple could it get than that? And I thought, the guys after 2026 doing the circle checks, if I was doing a circle check and you got to check the automatic braking system, I'd point the truck right at the dispatcher's car, stand on the gas, and then see if the truck stops itself. And that would be part of your circle check. And if it doesn't, hey, you're just doing your circle check, man. Enough of that. Tim Field, Swift just texted me with a job offer. Nope. You're... Oh, I can't imagine what it's like to run a carrier that size. I don't envy those guys to do that. So, but God, I tell you. Tim Field says he just got a 3-mile-per-hour gain and is now governed at 68, which is, we were talking about that earlier. That's part of all of a sudden what the carriers can do for you now. I thought that's interesting. No, that's a heck of a difference. And you know what? I bet you it hardly affects their fuel mileage at all. So why not? It's, God, 65 can put you to sleep sometimes. If you're going across Nebraska on I-80 at 65 miles an hour, you could nod off. I could see it happening. Lettuce King, do the dispatch hokey pokey. I have I have a vivid mental picture of the Lettuce King. We worked for a carrier out of Oakville, he and I, for a little while, and they were known for screwing up your paycheck. And it was never in favor of the truck. It was always in favor of the carrier. And they'd screwed up to the tune of thousands sometimes. And both the Lettuce King and I owned our own trucks at that point. And they screwed up his check so bad. They had this little sliding glass window between the drivers and the dispatch office. And the counter was like chest high. And they screwed up his paycheck. He went in there to complain. This is the Lettuce King. Slid the glass back. And they got tired. The dispatch got tired of listening to him and walked away. It didn't solve his issue. And the Lettuce King virtually hopped over the counter through this little window and chased this guy all through the offices. And they were talking about that at that office for months after that. But I could just see him doing that too. He did did what he told us later was the hokey pokey. He got so mad he wound up like the Tasmanian devil and just hopped through this little window and chased this guy down. Oh, those were the days. Nowadays, you'd probably get charged with assault for something like that. Yeah, you'd be in the can for that. But all I could do at the time was I think the dispatcher ended up bolting out the door outside and outrunning him. Kelly Patterson, for some companies, safety only matters when it's convenient. Isn't that the truth? Isn't that the sad truth? And when it's convenient or when it doesn't cost them any money is what it boils down to. Yeah, Kelly, you've hit that nail on the head. Million Miler, to give Prime Inc. drivers a raise is to turn their trucks up or allow them to go 65 miles an hour. I don't even think Prime should be on the road. It's my opinion. Everybody makes fun of Swift, but I don't think, although Kathy tells me that their driver training course, Prime's driver training course, is very good. So we get lots of good reports about how good their driver training program is. After that, it's a wash, but I guess they have a really good driver training program. Also, back up on the containers across the seas due to COVID, low on drivers without the very dedicated truck drivers and trains to help provide things. Daniel, yeah, just think, there's 96 ships sitting waiting to get into Long Beach in L.A. and China's backed up and delayed in shipping. Holy God! Maybe that's a good thing. Mike Rainey, guarantee to you that there is a number of deaths that are deemed acceptable while they're experimenting with autonomous trucks. You know what? You're right. I read that about the Tesla cars, that the self-driving cars, that Tesla had designated an acceptable number of deaths that they put down to testing or something like that. And I couldn't believe that. But that's corporate America, big corporate America. I don't think one death is acceptable.
It's like that in trucking accidents, though.
And it's like that in trucking accidents, a certain percentage is acceptable, which is just amazing. And there's a statistic I came across this week. The FMCSA, in all their wisdom, has determined that the accident rate for trucks rose in 2019 from 2018. And the article I'm reading shows a picture of a rolled over pickup truck pulling a trailer. And the way the FMCSA classifies trucks are anything over 10,000 pounds. So a pickup truck with a house trailer behind it would be over 10,000 pounds, and they call that a truck accident. I call that a tourist rolling over. And I don't know why they don't, if they want to rate truck accidents, why don't they look at the driver's license of the guy involved? And at least if he's got a CDL, he's a truck driver. But if he's a tourist pulling his camper trailer, why is he counted in the truck statistics? But there's the value of the FMCSA for you. SoCal. Acceptable deaths unless it's someone they love. Yeah. Can you believe our society has gotten to that point, though? That, we have an acceptable number of deaths in lieu of progress for self-driving cars. Like, what's wrong there? It's just something seriously wrong. Jeff Reed says, I learned from an ExxonMobil safety rep. A good safety rep has to sincerely care for the well-being of the employees. Yeah, that's how it should be. That's how it should be. Too bad we don't have that kind of care all over the trucking industry. Rose Jackson, what do I think of electric trucks? Rose, I don't think that they've got the technology mastered yet. I think electric trucks will be the future of trucking. I think after a while, not in this generation probably, but after a while that the trucks will all be electric. The problem now that they can't conquer is that the batteries run out too quickly. They can, they say they've got a 500-mile range. Truly, they've got a 385-mile range, as it turns out. And they've got to get better range. So they can replace trucks that do city work and stuff like that. But I think the future will be in electric trucks. I can't tell you how many years off that is, but I think that will be the inevitable future. The old Ford Pinto was the same way. The money they would spend on settlements was less than they'd spend on the car. The Pinto was the one that used to explode every time it got rear-ended. And that was Ford's attitude at the time. And that came out years later, that rather than make the car safer, it was easier to fight the lawsuits in court and pay them eventually. Incredible. And Ford had a bunch of issues like that. They had tire issues the same way. They'd put cheap tires on them and then battle it out in court. One of the saddest days was the first day I drove with a speed limiter. Knew the end was near. Grilled mortal. I generally, as a rule, grilled mortal, I would cruise my truck about 65 miles an hour. Just that's where I was comfortable. But like when I wanted to go out and around something, I wanted to be able to get out and go around something. And that's where these governed trucks do damage and cause trouble. And I don't agree with them because of that. Yeah, Captain Nice Guy, I'm with you. Electric trucks, yes. Autonomous trucks, never. Yeah, I agree. I kind of look forward to driving an electric truck. I really would, but just to try it. But autonomous trucks, I can't see them ever being safe in my lifetime. But they're pushing it. They want them like next year, but it'll never happen, thank God. Million Miler came down the mountain on I-26 between Asheville, North Carolina and Tennessee, and Prime Inc. drivers skipped the brake check. Half a mile down the road, another truck on the side of the mountain. Yeah. If you ever come down the mountain once too fast, you never forget it. That's a hard way to learn the lesson. But that's how I learned. I looked down a hill, and I'd been running the mountains for years. And I looked down the hill and thought, well, this doesn't look as bad. I figured, it's about like this hill or that hill that I knew, like the Rogers Pass. Wasn't. There was a big part of the hill that I couldn't see. It was a lot longer a hill than I had anticipated. And I ended up smoking my brakes going down. And I never made that mistake again. Ed, when would be a good time to sell a rig? 1 million miles or so when it's in the shop? In the shop? Or too often than not? You know what, Ed? Right now is a great time to sell a truck. The used trucks are just flying off the shelves. So if you ever thought about selling one, now would be the time. If your truck's made it to 1 million miles at this point, you've got to realize too that you're going to start investing some serious coin into that thing to keep it running if you're going to work it. So, bear those things in mind. But right now, if you're thinking about selling a truck, depending on what it is too, if it's been a good truck mechanically, like mine has been, my Pete, you can go over the 1 million miles. But if it's been something that's given you nothing but trouble, probably the sooner the better, because it's not going to get any better. They just get worse.
All right, chat. Well, we're approaching the last quarter of our stream here. Just a couple announcements that I wanted to go over. First of all, this coming Friday, we have a interesting video coming up, defining moments in trucking in 2021. So that'll be a predecessor to a video coming up about 2022. Secondly, now I know we've announced this a couple times, but we've had some hiccups along the way. But finally, chat, we have in the works right now writing up our first podcast episode. So we want to collect a few of those together and then start uploading those. Whereabouts they're going to be uploaded is yet to be determined, but look forward to our podcast finally coming out soon. I expect to have that out by the new year. And then third and foremost, probably I'd say arguably most important, we finally have our American trucking simulator hooked up. I know, I just said it out loud. It is hooked up now. Couple setbacks so far. He's already ripped the equipment off the desk. He can't figure out how to back up quite yet. But we're learning collectively. So I assume within maybe the next couple of weeks we will actually have American Trucking Simulator videos on our channel. We're looking at getting the VR headset hooked up with that, but that'll be further down the line. But anyways, the podcast, American Trucking Simulator, and the Friday video, all things to look forward to on our channel in the next coming of days. So make sure you are subscribed for all that great content.
Just in setting the simulator up, Nick has accumulated enough driving time or seat time that he can now be a driver trainer for Werner. So bear that in mind. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to driving this thing. So I'm glad we finally got the thing up and running here. So Captain Nice Guy, this is why we can't have nice things. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess Shamu says, did you ever go through I-70 in Colorado? Yes, I have, and it's a pretty drive. I generally, most of the time, I would do the extra 70 miles and go stay on 80 into Salt Lake and then drop down 15 if I was going that way. I just found like I would rather go down Parley's in a storm than through the Eisenhower Junction in the storm. I just found it was, the roads were closed. I-80 was closed less than I-70 when the winter came. So, but yeah, and it's a beautiful drive. But and I might as well be honest with you here. Because I hardly ever went to Colorado, I didn't have an operating authority for Colorado. So anytime I went through that way, I was sneaking around the scales, and that was always a little bit annoying too. So it was easier for me to go into Salt Lake and down. SoCal, I learned to descend a hill properly on the Grapevine. Great place to learn. Yeah. And that's not that bad a hill, but it's pretty much always dry. The grade's not crazy. That would be a good place to learn. Chloe's dad just talked to one of the instructors at school before. He said he worked at UPS driving doubles for 30 years. We got a video coming out about that'll deal with that. Told me it's union with Teamsters. He also said they would hire me right out of school. Chloe's dad 2020, I would go for that. That sounds like an excellent opportunity, and I would be all over that like white on rice. So yeah, good to know. We just did a video. We have yet to put it up, but it's on backing up A-trains in general, which is generally a lot of what UPS pulls are the A-train configuration. So watch for that in the near future. But Chloe's dad 2020, excellent job opportunity, and it's great to know that they're hiring right out of school, and they're a great carrier, one of the best. So good.
Daniel coming in with another $5 as well. How angry do you think the diesel mechanics would be with the electric trucks, or tell the company we can't work on that? Sorry, the battery is the problem. Daniel, thank you very much for another $5.
Daniel, thank you, and good question. And it's interesting that you bring up the electric trucks. And I was reading here just today, and it was just fascinating that one of the things they haven't really truly determined is that what the weight of the battery for the electric trucks is going to be. And they figured that with a diesel setup, by the time you include the fuel tanks, the batteries, the transmission, the motor, and everything, you're looking about 8,000 pounds. Well, the preliminary figures out of Tesla are that the battery for an electric truck will be somewhere around 20,000 pounds, which makes it heavy. So you'd think, it's going to need to haul light freight. I was stunned to read that the beverage producers like PepsiCo and Coors are fascinated, and they want to be the first to get these electric trucks. And I thought, I couldn't understand it because the weight, beverage hauling pop or beer or something like that, that's heavy stuff. So I couldn't understand what the fascination was. Well, they cited that, that generally the trucks didn't work too long in a day, so the batteries could, last throughout the day. generally they sat up against the fence most of the night, and that would serve as, charging time, which was good for them. They called it dwell time. But I couldn't get over the weight thing until I figured out that most of those trucks, their own company trucks, deliver just within the big cities where their breweries or factories are producing the stuff. So they never cross the scale. So here's, and you never see portable scales set up in the major cities. So here are these guys like Coors in Denver, for instance, or wherever they are, could peddle all their wares all around Denver and never get caught and run out every day overweight. And they're not going to cut back the weight just because the truck is heavier. So they're just ignoring the weight loss with these electric trucks coming out because they can see, nothing but good. They don't worry about the weight limits because there's no scales in town anyway. I thought, man, if the DOT is paying attention to this article, I would start putting up portable scales in every major city in the U.S. Get ready for these electric trucks because those guys are all going to be running overweight. So, amazing. Thunderstorm 87, ATS, I want to hear how Dave's real-life experience compares with the American Truck Simulator. I can't wait. I'm kind of worried about it because when they're Nick's setting it up, he says, what transmission do you want? I said, 18-speed. He says, oh, you can't have that. I said, what can I have? He says, H pattern. I said, I don't care. Go ahead.
This is already not accurate because typical memory. No, the first thing I asked you is what kind of transmission that you wanted, whether you wanted so there was automatic, real automatic, there was third one in there, and then there was the H pattern.
So I picked the H pattern.
I think I'm trying to remember the name of the third one. But yeah, there was an H pattern. And chat, listen. This is what he said to me as a response. Yeah, I'll do the 8 pattern.
8.
I'm like, what? So that's the kind of day we've had setting this up.
My hearing's
so
not that great.
My
hearing's not that great. So he said H. I thought he said 8.
Yeah, because we all know and love the 8 shifting pattern.
Well, they have an 8-speed. They used to.
Oh, okay. Well, never mind. Botched on that one. But it'll be a challenge to get going. But chat, promise, we have some good videos coming up with that for sure. So look forward to that.
Something to look forward to. Tim Field says Dave needs his meds. Maybe. Yeah, it's getting that time. It's getting that time. That's why I got to sign off. It's medicine time. Anyway. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you for the great comments and questions. Love them all. Really, really, really enjoy dealing with them. Don't forget what Shannon's warning everybody about, and watch out for these high wind warnings in Wyoming. And you don't think wind can affect a truck? It absolutely can. It absolutely can, especially a crosswind if you're light. So pay attention to this stuff. You don't need to be blown on your side. Smart trucking, once you hit 8 four-wheelers in ATS, you get promoted to become a trainer. Just saying, that's Ryan Voss. That's what I was saying earlier about Nick. He's almost ready to be a trainer. I think he said a car, a wall, and a telephone pole so far. And a cop, right? Didn't you tell me? No? Okay. Yeah, the 8 pattern, the closest thing to a Super 10 you'd find, yeah. Do you remember Captain Nice Guy? They made an LL08 or something like that, and it was actually like the 8th gear was up against the wall, and they only produced that for like a couple of years, and the jump between 7th and 8th was too big, and then they discontinued the transmission. But I remember that being the hot transmission for about 2 years. The salesmen were all trying to push them, and it turned out that nobody really liked them, and they discontinued them. Jeffries, don't forget your warm glass of milk, Dave.
With the supper card.
You guys make fun of me now. You just wait till you get old. Throw ropes from the side the wind comes from. Oh, you. We used to figure we knew the wind was blowing hard when the mud flaps were blowing sideways, and we had the weights on them anyway, and they were blowing sideways. That's how we knew we had a good crosswind going.
Well, speaking of mud flaps, it's about that time of day again where we start wrapping things up.
Okay. Anyway, guys, thank you all. Appreciate you for joining us. Take care. Keep the rubber side down. And we'll see you on the back haul. Have a good night, everybody. Drive safely.